Mr. Alvey's with us for the department. Ms. Talley's with us for CASA. Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the child. Mr. Barfield is with us representing the mother, Ms. Ankton, and I assume she's with Mr. Hatcher. And then Mr. Adams is with us representing the father, Mr. Hatcher, who is also with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will call Ms. Haley Grissom.
Okay.
Ms. Grissom, you're a St. Francis Ministries Permanency Specialist.
Yes, sir.
In that capacity, you are familiar with the child, the subject of this suit?
Yes, I am.
Where is Indica currently placed?
She is in a foster home in Carson County.
And how long has she been in that placement?
She's been in that placement since the initial removal.
And how old is Indica today?
She is just about to turn 6 months.
Is her current placement meeting all of her needs?
Yes, they are.
Making sure that she gets all of her medical appointments and medical needs taken care of?
Yes, they're doing an excellent job of taking care of her.
Is there any special issues or special needs that we need to raise with the court today concerning Indica?
No, sir.
Indica's mother is Danielle Ankton.
Yes.
Indica's father is Nicoa Hatcher.
Yes, sir.
They were ordered to work services through a service plan.
Yes.
Let's start with Miss Ankton. Is Miss Ankton cooperated in working the services that she has been ordered to work?
Yes, she has.
Are there any services that she has not completed at this time?
No, she's continuing to be cooperative with drug testing when she's asked. The only thing that she has not participated in are in-person NA meetings.
All right, we'll get to that in just a moment. Mr. Hatcher has also been ordered to work services. Has he worked services for you?
Yes, sir.
And are there any specific services that he has not completed at this time?
He is still working on finishing his individual counseling, and then he also is not participating in the in-person NA meetings.
All right. Are they cooperating with random drug screens?
Yes, they are.
And do those random drug screens cause you any concerns?
Yes, they are continuing to test positive for illegal substances.
And that substance is marijuana?
Yes, sir.
And have you discussed with them these positive drug screens?
Yes.
And what is their response to you, and why? What are they telling you they believe the reason that they're testing positive for marijuana is?
They have voiced to me that they are testing positive for marijuana because they are using Delta 8 and Delta 9 gummies.
Have you discussed with them the fact that even though those things may be legal in the state of Texas, that they may not be, use of them may not be a good thing for raising their children?
Yes, I have discussed the safety concerns with that.
Have they discussed with you whether or not they're interested in trying to stop?
I think that Danielle was a little more open to trying to deal with what she's using the gummies for without the gummies. Mr. Hatcher, I think, is not interested in stopping the use of the gummies.
You mentioned when we were talking about services that they have not done in-person NAAA meetings. Do you know if they're doing some sort of online NAAA meetings?
Yes, they are doing NA meetings through an app called In the Rooms.
Do you believe that it's important, specifically in this case, with these people's backgrounds, with them continuing to test positive for THC, that they do in-person NAAA meetings?
Yes, sir, I do.
Today, first of all, do you feel like it would be safe to return Indica to them at this time?
No, sir.
Do you think it would be against her general welfare to return, or contrary to her general welfare to return her to her parents today?
Yes.
Are you asking the court, in addition to the things he's already ordered, that he order Mr. Hatcher and Miss Angton to attend in person in AA meetings?
Yes, sir.
And have you researched to see if there are any local AA meetings where Mr. Hatcher and Miss Angton reside?
I have, yes.
And are there in-person meetings that they can attend?
There is a Celebrate Recovery in Shamrock where they live. That's more of a religious group, and they are not interested in attending that one. There are classes in surrounding towns such as Pampa, and they could travel through Pampa on the way to their visits with Indica each week.
In addition, are you requesting that the court prohibit them from continuing to use Delta 8 and or Delta 9 gummies so that their drug screens will actually come down and we can see what actually is happening?
Yes, sir.
You believe all of that would be in Indica's best interest?
Yes.
Are you asking the court then to continue the department as temporary managing conservator of this job?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Grissom, this Delta 8 and Delta 9, my understanding from having done this for several years is that that may be legal now in Texas. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Has anyone from the Department of St. Francis talked to our drug testing experts to see if they can delineate whether that is they're getting a positive for marijuana based on that, or whether they're using the actual marijuana itself?
Judge, I can answer your question. I've specifically have talked to a drug expert, and they cannot delineate the difference between Delta 8, Delta 9, and THC from illegal substances like the use of marijuana.
All right, so we just have to take the parents' word for it that they're using this legal product versus using marijuana itself. Is that what you're telling me, Mr. Alley?
That's what I'm telling you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. All right, then, Mr. Barfield, questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Grissom, in regards to the, I'm going to talk about my client Danielle's participation. She has been doing NA classes online.
Yes, sir.
So she's complied 100% with the service plan.
There are a couple of things that I forgot to mention earlier that she is not doing. But she has completed several services. Yes.
What has she not completed?
She does not have, there's some instability with her housing situation, and she's also not employed.
Okay. Now, has she indicated to you she's seeking employment?
It's been a couple of months since she's told me that she's been applying for jobs, but she has, during the course of the case, put in some applications to different places.
And she lives in Shamrock, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now, do you know if she is residing with Mr. Hatcher?
Yes, she does.
Is Mr. Hatcher employed?
No, he's not.
Okay. If he were employed, would that change your situation? As long as one of they're together, and as far as you know, they intend to remain together. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Hatcher's been working his services as well.
Yes, he has.
Okay. And if he's employed, then, she could stay home, take care of the baby, correct?
It would depend on the amount that he was able to verify that he was bringing in, but possibly yes.
Okay. Well, we don't penalize people for not being rich, do we?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. So, and that's something he can speak to later, Mr. Hatcher. In regards to the online services, now what levels was Danielle testing in regards to THC?
And I do want to say that it was specifically marijuana and not THC that was coming up on their test.
Do you know the difference between marijuana and THC?
I have a general understanding of it, yes, sir.
Well, obviously, do you know what causes someone to have a high when they use a marijuana product?
I wouldn't feel comfortable speaking as an expert on the subject, no.
So the answer to my previous question is no. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Her last drug screen,
And when was that?
her last UA is the last one that's on the court report, and that was positive for marijuana at a level of 674.
So that was a UA. That wasn't a hair follicle test.
Yes, sir. But she has done a hair strand for me since then, and I can pull that up on my computer.
Okay. 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 So she's done. And when did you say that was done? The UA?
The UA, the last one was February 17th.
Okay. So as of February 17th, her levels were 674.
Yes, sir.
And specifically, did she indicate to you what milligram gummy she was using? And did she show you the product she was using?
She did show me the product. Yes, sir.
Okay. And where did she obtain that product?
I am not aware of that.
You didn't ask?
No, I didn't ask which store she bought it at. No.
Okay. And you're aware that Delta 8 gummies and Delta 9 gummies are legal in the state of Texas?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. So your concern is that she's using a legal product in the state of Texas?
I would, yes, sir, but I would need to elaborate more to answer your question.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you know the milligram dosage she was using?
I would have to refer to the pictures I took of it. I think I remember, but I don't want to rely on my memory to tell you that.
Okay, it was 15 milligrams, was it not?
That sounds correct from my memory.
Okay, all right. And do you know if a 15 milligram gummy in any way, shape, or form impairs someone's ability in any way, shape, or form to function?
I do believe that there's a safety concern using this product with.
I'm not asking you what you believe. I'm asking you, do you know?
Yes, I do believe that there's a safety concern.
I'm not asking you what you believe. I'm asking, do you have any medical evidence or any knowledge whatsoever that a 15 milligram
Objection, Your Honor. She's already testified that she doesn't.
No, she
She's not an
hasn't, Todd.
expert. She,
No.
she,
She hadn't answered his question yet.
well, I didn't say she.
He's not asking her what she knows. I mean, she's not asked her what she thinks. Mr. Barfield's asking a valid question. Does she have any evidence that she can say she knows it impairs their ability to care for a child? So, Ms. Grissom, you can answer that. It's either you have some evidence of it or you just think.
Yes, I do know. Yes.
How do you know?
From my conversations with our DFPS substance abuse expert.
And who would that be?
Her name is Karen Palumbo.
And when did you have that conversation?
I've had 2 phone conversations and some email conversations with her. The last phone conversation was yesterday.
Okay. And she's and she told you, because she told you that a 15 milligram Delta 8 gummy can impair somebody's function to care for a child. That's your testimony under oath today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you done any independent research or seen any studies or medical evidence that that's true?
My conversations with her were the research that I did.
Listen to my question, please.
Now, I'm Mr. Barfield. I'm going to stop you there. You beat this.
Okay, I understand, Judge.
You know, it's not her job to go out and try and verify an expert.
I got you, Judge. Okay. I'll move on. I think I've made my point. Now, other than this gummy situation, have the levels I got you off track, I'll be honest. We had a UA 21723, and I believe you testified that was the last time that occurred. Is that correct?
The last UA, yes.
Okay. Has she drug tested since February 17th, 2023?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
March 10th.
Okay. And what was the result of the March 10th? And was that a UA or a hair follicle?
That was a hair strand.
Okay. And did you get the results of that hair strand yet?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay. Okay. All right. Did you happen to tell Danielle that her levels seemed consistent with what she was telling you she was taking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so in other words, what she was saying in regards to the Delta 8, her story matched up with what the levels are testing for. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you don't believe she's lying to you about taking the Delta 8 gummies, do you?
No.
Okay. Now, in regards to visits, let's move on to visits. What type of visits is Danielle getting with Indica at this period of time?
She's getting 4 hours of in-person visits with Indica per week.
Okay. And how do those visits go?
They go very well.
Okay, good. So other than this issue with the Delta 8 gummies, quite frankly, she's done everything she's been asked to do except for going to an in-person NA class, correct?
And the other issues that I mentioned.
Right. The employment and the stable housing. Let's talk about the housing. What is her housing right now?
She resides with Mr. Hatcher in Shamrock, Texas.
Okay. And what type of dwelling?
It's a home.
Is it a single family home?
Yes.
Okay. Did that home appear to be appropriate?
At the moment, it's pretty messy, but yes, it is. It is appropriate.
Okay. Okay. And are there any other children in the home at this time?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. And why do you say that's not stable housing?
It's not a home that Mr. Hatcher own. It is Mr. Hatcher's mom's home, and she is in the process of trying to sell that home.
Are they staying there with her permission?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any indication that they're going to be evicted from the home?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know if the home has sold?
It has not.
Is the home on the market? Do you know?
There's a sign in the yard that it's for sale, sir.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Grissom, if the house is for sale and it sells, is it a reasonable expectation that they would be evicted?
They would no longer have a home to live in. Correct.
Okay. All right. And you said that mother has a pending hair strand drug test. It has not come back. What about Mr. Hatcher? When were his last tests?
The same dates. He did a UA on 2/17, and then I'm going to have to do some research on the March 10th test because I sent them for a hair, but it looks like they may have done a UA instead that day. So I'm going to have to look those up.
Okay, so do we need to order hair strand tests today to be sure, or what?
Yes, sir. I would say that.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Grissom, in line with what Mr. Barfield was asking, you have told Mr. Hatcher that you believe that his levels that have come back are consistent with him taking the Delta 8 and Delta 9 gummies?
Yes, sir.
And earlier you testified that you'd indicated that you had a concern, and you told them that you had a concern about those, the use of those. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Exactly what did you tell them?
We discussed the conversations that I have had with our substance abuse expert about Indica's age and how these gummies could impair their ability to respond to their cues, or I'm sorry, respond to Indica's cues because of her age.
Okay, fair enough. Have you talked to them about where they might live if the house that they're living in is sold?
Yes, we have talked about that.
And what have they told you?
They've indicated to me that their plans are to move to Colorado with Nicole's mother when the house sells.
Okay. So if they can complete all their services and show that they're safe, then moving to Colorado would not be a problem. Is that correct?
At the close of this case, that would be something that they would do on their own. Yes, sir. And that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Kincaid.
Ms. Grissom, is the child up to date on her medical care?
Yes, she is.
Okay, and did she have a recent diagnosis
Not that I am aware of.
of sickle cell trait?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I did.
But they are addressing it and getting medical care, the current placement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is the child on any prescription medicine at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And the child is developing normally?
Yes.
Okay. Is the child in daycare or anything like that?
Yes, she is in daycare.
Okay. And is that going well so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have there been any reports or concerns about visitation at all?
There have been a few concerns brought up by the foster parents. Yes.
Okay. And is that about the child's response to the travel from placement to and from?
Yes.
Okay. And what are the issues they're seeing?
I think that most of that has been resolved because they changed the time of the visit. She was crying a lot during the travel back to Panhandle, but I think that's been resolved by a change in the visit time.
Okay. And changing subjects a little bit here, but we're discussing some products that the parents could potentially be using that are legal in Texas, but they may be using something that's illegal in Texas. Alcohol is legal in Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when alcohol is an issue in a case, the judge or the court can restrict the use of that alcohol during the pendency of that case, even though it's legal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if the judge, the court can restrict people's movements to places they could normally legally go if it's an issue in the case. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right.
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Grissom, you may have testified to this, but what was Mr. Hatchett, what was his last UA level at?
That was 250.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, then, Mr. Barfield, witnesses?
I'd call my client, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Barfield.
Thank you, Judge. Danielle, you've been on the feed. I've seen your picture here. You've heard all the testimony from Ms. Grisham. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's first of all, have you taken any substances other than Delta 8? In other words, have you been using illegal marijuana products?
No, sir.
Now this Delta 8 product you're taking, where do you get it from?
We purchased it from the Green Gorilla in Amarillo off of Washington Street.
Okay. And you and I had a discussion about the testing and all that kind of stuff, did we not?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And do you understand that even though it may be legal right now, the judge can put whatever requirement the judge feels necessary to ensure the safety of your child? Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we talked about that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if the judge, what you're representing have you ever lied to Ms. Grisham about using the Delta 8 or any other substances?
No, sir.
Okay. And why do you take a Delta 8 gummy?
It helps with my hunger and my anxiety.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. What do you mean by that?
My appetite. It helps with my appetite. Because of my depression, I take Prozac. So the Prozac pills, they recover my hunger and everything. So.
Okay. Now, about the NA meetings, you've been going online?
Yes, sir.
And how often do you do that?
We did twice a week.
Okay. Have you ever been to an in-person meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When was that?
That was a few years ago at the very beginning of our case.
Okay. Now, there's no place, are there any places you're aware of that it is within hours drive of Shamrock, Texas to go to an in-person meeting?
Right now, I do not.
Okay.
I mean,
As far as other services, have you completed your services?
Yes.
Now, in regards to your home situation, please to explain to the court the home situation.
We live with my mother-in-law. It's a 5-bedroom house. Very stable. Electricity, running water.
It's 5 bedrooms.
Yes, sir.
Is it in Shamrock?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. And now there's been some talk about that home is up for sale. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And
I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt for a second. Who's doing all the coughing?
it's me, Your Honor. I'm not trying to interrupt or anything. I
Okay,
just
well,
got an itch in my throat.
okay, well, if you kind of back off, sir, from the microphone until and if you're asked to testify, because I'm missing about half of Miss Langton's answers because of the cough.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right. Go ahead, Mr. Barfield. Sorry.
thank you, Judge. Okay. So if the house sold, would you have a place to live?
Yes, we would.
Where would you live?
We would rent an
Okay,
apartment.
Mr. Hatcher, I don't want you talking when I'm asking questions to my client. I'm not asking you questions right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Danielle, you were about to answer my question. What would that answer be?
We would rent a house or an apartment, whatever we would be able to find.
Now, currently, are you employed?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. Are you seeking employment?
Yes, sir, I am.
And have you been seeking employment?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. And where have you sought employment?
I've sought employment here in Shamrock and also in surrounding towns in McLean, Texas.
Are you going to continue to seek employment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Financially, how would you support your baby right now if you're not employed?
My husband, what he gets, there's all types of resources out there. I know that she would not go without. I do know that.
Currently, is your mother-in-law charging y'all rent to stay in the home?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you paying utilities in the home?
No, sir.
All right. Now, your visits have been what, 4 hours a week? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that every week?
Yes, sir.
Is that in Panhandle?
And Mondays during Shamrock and on Fridays during Panhandle.
Okay. Now, are you willing and able to, if for no other reason than to simplify this case, stop using Delta 8 gummies whether in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you understand that it seems to me, or it appears in this case, do you understand it appears to me that without this Delta 8 gummy use, you've done everything asked of you pretty much?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And whatever the court asks you to do, are you willing to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in reference to visitations, are you asking that at this point that your possession and access of your child be expanded to perhaps overnights because you're complying with all services?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. And honestly, you'd like your child placed back with you today, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you understand the court may have some concerns due to, I'm going to say, lack of evidence whether the Delta 8 is testing for illegal THC or legal THC? Do you understand the quandary the court is put in those situations?
Yes, sir, I do.
And have I explained that to you?
Yes, sir, you have.
Okay. And well, I'll pass the witness then.
All right, thank you. Ms. Sankton, you testified that your indica would not go without, and you mentioned your husband, what he could make. Is my understanding he's unemployed right now too, is that correct?
No, sir, he's self-employed. He does odd jobs, I guess you would say. Okay, like the other day, we're putting in a septic system for the local auto crusher, the guy that crushes, what would you call it, the salvage guy. So there is work. He is working.
Okay, so he just doesn't have steady employment. He's self-employed and picks up jobs when he can.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you, ma'am. All right, Mr. Albee, did you have questions for Ms. Sankton?
Just a couple. Ms. Ankton,
Yes, sir.
what, I don't know how the gummies are weighed, or what size gummies do you take?
You said what size?
Yeah, I don't know what's the level of the gummy you got. There was some testimony, it was 15 milliliters, is that right?
Milligrams? Yes, sir.
Milligrams. Okay, thank you. And how often do you take these?
I take one gummy a day.
Okay, so it's every day. And you said you purchased those at the Green Gorilla in Amarillo?
Yes, sir.
And do you go to Amarillo and buy those?
Yes, sir.
And how often do you go to Amarillo to have to buy those?
I would say maybe once every 2-3 weeks,
And
if that.
what are you spending? How much money are you spending on the Delta 8?
I'm not really sure about off the top of my head right now. I couldn't give you an exact amount.
Okay. And when you take the Delta 8, are you taking it to help alleviate your anxiety?
Yes, sir.
So it decreases the feelings that you have?
Correct.
And that's the reason that you take it?
Not the only reason. Helped with my hunger also. Yes.
Well, and again, for the hunger, it's depressing your need for food. Stops
Sorry,
it stops some of the desire for food, correct?
Sorry, you got me. I'm confused now. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
Maybe a better word is suppressing and not depressing, Mr. Albee.
and that's probably right, Judge. But you testified, Miss Ankton, that you use it because Prozac makes you hungry and you want to eat a lot more, right?
No, I said Prozac. It kind of doesn't allow me to want to eat anything.
Okay. So does the gummies stimulate your appetite?
Yes, sir, they do.
But again, that changes the way you feel.
Changes the way you lost me again. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you're not taking it, you don't want to eat. So it changes your appetite by taking the gummy.
Correct.
Okay. When was the last time you had a job?
Before my father passed away in 2020.
Are you able to work?
I would say yes, sir. Everything that's going on right now, I mean,
You don't have any disabilities, do you?
besides my anxiety and PTSD. No, sir.
Have you sought, have you applied for SSI, which is federal disability monies?
I have a little bit after my father passed away. I attempted.
But you don't have that SSI, you're not getting an SSI check.
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you, Ms. Hatcher. I'll pass witness.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams.
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything further from anyone for Ms. Ankton?
Just one question, Judge.
Uh-huh.
Are you taking the Delta 8 to get high?
No, sir, I'm not.
Does it impair your ability to function in any way, shape, or form?
No, sir, it does not.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barfield, any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Adams, witnesses?
Briefly, I'd like to call my client, Mr. Hatcher,
Thank
please.
you. Okay. Mr. Adams.
Mr. Hatcher, how often do you take the gummies?
About once a day.
Once a day? And do you take it to get high?
No.
And what do you take it for?
I use it because I crushed my arm when I was 19 years old and I have extensive nerve damage in my left arm. And it helps nullify the pain instead of being on a prescription drug, which could actually have worse effects than the gummies do.
Okay, thank you for that. And you have you do odd jobs, is that right?
Yes.
And you're willing to work, is that correct?
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I am.
I need to take a quick break, please. I'll be right back. Okay, apologize for the interruption. I think, Mr. Adams, you were still questioning your client?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hatcher, you're doing everything that the department's asking you to do, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that you and Miss Ankton could take care of your child right now?
Yes, I do.
Would you like the court to return Indica to you?
I only caught about part of what you were saying.
Would you like the judge to order that Indica be returned to you?
Yes, I would.
And if that's not possible, would you like for increased visitation?
Yes.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Alby, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Barfield?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. Mr. Hatcher, I believe you reside with your mother, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and what is her name?
Jeanette.
And you've heard previous testimony from all the other witnesses here today, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and in a similar vein, you understand that there's potential the judge or this court could order that you stop using these Delta 8 gummies.
Yes.
Is that something that you'd be willing to do to have the child returned to you?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Anyone else have further questions?
No, Your Honor.
No,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
then,
Your Honor,
Ms.
may I please recall Ms. Grissom just very briefly?
Sure. All right, Ms. Grissom, you're still under oath, so Ms. Kincaid, you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. You've heard the name of Mr. Hatcher's mother, who he resides with. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Have we done a background check on her, or has the department?
Yes.
Okay, and that came back okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. That was all, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Alby, questions? Well, let me just ask, anyone else have further questions for Ms. Grissom?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then, Ms. Kincaid, did you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then, Ms. Kincaid, recommendations?
I think that the child is doing well in current placement. I think that hopefully the visitation issue, it was just based on travel, but all reports I've heard is that visitations are going well. So I'm not opposed to those being expanded. I think that current placement is safe and appropriate for the child.
All right. I don't know how, I was kind of confused about how the visitation works for a child that's under 1 year old. I think 4 hours a week is probably as much as a child can handle, but.
Yeah, and the main thing is the travel. She really doesn't like being in the car seat for extended periods, and that was what it created a lot of distress in the child, the travel.
Well, has that been alleviated somehow? If that was testified to, I didn't hear how it was alleviated. Ms. Grissom?
she may be able to fill you in more. Placement is the one that has reported to me that she really doesn't like those long car trips.
Well, I thought I heard Ms. Grissom say that had been somewhat alleviated. Ms. Grissom, where do we stand on it? Somebody tell me.
So one of the visits, she doesn't have to travel for. The parents go to Panhandle. The other visit, she's transported to Shamrock, and she was having some distress, but from my conversations with the visit worker, she was able to change the time to a later time in the day, and she has not been crying during the transports since that change.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right, then. Let's see then. Ms. Tally Casa, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Your Honor. We're in agreement with the ad item.
Okay. Okay, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue the current placement. I'll order that the parents attend in-person NA meetings, NAAA meetings at least once a week. I'm going to order both parents to hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. I guess, where did they test that? Is that in Pampa?
Judge, there's a place in Pampa. There's also one in Wellington.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the hours are.
I see you, Mr. Hatcher. Keep your pants on.
I'm not sure when the one in Wellington is open. So,
okay. All right. Let me finish my ruling. Then I'm going to order the parents cease the use of Delta 8 or 9 until further court order. I'll get to my reasoning behind that here in a minute. Mr. Hatcher, you were waving your hand.
Yeah, this is in regards to the hair follicle. The place in Pampa closes at noon today.
Okay,
We are currently on our way to a visit.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't realize that. So we'll make that to be by 4 p.m. on Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's my ruling. Now let's address the white elephant in the room. I understand that Delta 8 and 9 are legal, but I've heard something today I haven't heard before, that DFPS has a substance abuse expert. So the white elephant in this room is that I need to hear from an expert, or else I'm going to be flipping a coin at a final hearing as to whether or not I should return the children to their parents because they take a legal drug, or I shouldn't because they take a legal drug. So just put everybody on fair warning. I'd like to hear from an expert as to what Ms. Grissom testified to today, that she was told by the DFPS expert. And I'd also be curious to know if they take a 15 milligram a day, how that corresponds to their levels when they test. Surely an expert can guide us on that. So obviously I can't tell people who to call as witnesses at a final hearing, but that's something that I would really like to know before I have to make a ruling on where this child goes. So, okay, then our next hearing will be a permanency hearing on July 19th, 2023. As far as I know, that will be by Zoom like today's hearing. So parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of July 19th to see exactly what time that hearing will take place. All right, that will conclude this hearing.